The air on Xeric 7 was always thick, always bitter. Jonas Ray knew that. But today it tasted different, sharp, metallic, like something had been torn open in the sky. He stood just outside the medical tent, still holding the scanner he'd been calibrating when the signal came through. It hadn't been coded or tagged by any known vessel. No distress ID, no voice transmission. Just a pulsing red beacon, cutting through all frequencies like it wanted to be found and didn't. Jonas's brows furrowed beneath the rim of his utility hood. He tapped the comm unit on his wrist. Base command, this is Field Medic Jonas. Ray, I'm receiving an unsourced emergency signal, northeast quadrant, grid 7 Delta, requesting verification. The static reply was thin and confused. No ships reported missing. Could be a glitch. Proceed with caution if you go. He didn't hesitate. Medpack on his back, sidearm clipped, he set off across the ravine trail, boots crunching over blood-red moss that hissed faintly with every step. The Crimson Jungle wasn't called that for its beauty. It earned its name with carnivorous vines, spore-bursting fungi, and acid mist that ate skin if you lingered too long. He moved fast but careful, scanning for gas pockets and unstable earth. The deeper he went, the darker the sky seemed to grow, though. The twin suns still glared high above. Shadows in this jungle didn't play by the rules of light. After 30 minutes, the pulse grew louder in his earpiece. Something burned nearby, he could smell it. Scorched metal. Ionized fuel. Jonas pushed through a web of low, wiry branches and froze. The escape pod had slammed into a cluster of black stone trees, half buried in the jagged roots. Smoke hissed from the rear thrusters. Its hatch was bent outward, pried open. From within. Cautiously, Jonas approached, eyes scanning the ground. No footprints, no drag marks. But something had come out or been dragged out. "Hello?" he called, voice firm but calm. "This is Intergalactic Relief Corps, human medic. Is anyone alive in there?" No answer. He climbed the side of the pod, peered in, and saw her. She was crumpled near the wall, one arm bent unnaturally beneath her, the other clutching her ribs. Her armor was charred, chest plate cracked. A royal insignia was still faintly glowing on the breast, 3 spiraled stars with a burning eye. Valessari royalty. Her skin shimmered faintly, shades of copper and gold that shifted like embers beneath water. Glowing trails ran along her cheeks and neck like ceremonial etchings. Naira. He knew her name before she even opened her eyes. Every Relief Corps member had studied the royal families, but none expected to meet one here. Jonas dropped to one knee beside her and opened his medpack. The moment the spray hit her wound, her eyes flew open, bright teal, wild with confusion and fury. Her hand lashed out. He dodged just in time, barely avoiding a blade she'd hidden in her sleeve. It skidded across the pod floor. "Don't touch me," she snarled, voice sharp and crackling. "You're bleeding," Jonas said gently, raising both hands. "I'm trying to help." She pushed herself up, shaking, one leg trembling. "You sabotaged me. This is your trap." Jonas's eyes narrowed. "You think I brought down a royal pod with a first aid kit?" Her face twisted in pain. She staggered, then dropped again, unable to stay upright. He caught her shoulders before she could hit her head. She tried to resist, but her strength was gone. Still, she glared at him. "You have no right." "You can stab me later," he said quietly. "But for now, I'm saving your life." He pressed the sealant foam against her cracked ribs, ignoring the burn of her gaze. "I don't want your help." "Too bad," he replied. "Not UNKINDL. Why? Naira went silent after that. Not because she agreed, but because her body gave in. Unconsciousness stole her before pride could stop it. Jonas kept working, unaware that from the jungle's edge, a soft click echoed. Someone else had been watching. The jungle did not sleep. Even after night swept across Xeric 7, the air buzzed with unseen things. The vines twitched as if breathing. Flowers opened not to bloom, but to listen. And high in the trees, golden eyes blinked without blinking back. Jonas, crouched beside the makeshift shelter he'd built out of shattered pod panels and jungle bark, his sidearm laid across his lap, his hand still sticky with blood. Naira lay inside the shelter, wrapped in a thermal sheet, her breathing shallow but steady. The wounds were holding. For now, he had set up 3 perimeter markers, crude motion pings, each tied to a branch with a heat-triggered flare. But it wasn't enough. Not out here. Not where silence meant something was coming. He'd been on 22 deployments. Healed soldiers whose lungs were scorched in chlorine storms. Treated mothers during orbital famines. But this felt different. This wasn't a mission. This was a warning. Suddenly, the flare to the west hissed. Jonas single quotes as body tensed. He grabbed the sidearm, crept toward the edge of the trees. Then nothing. The jungle stared back at him, quiet. No wind. No rustling leaves. Even the bugs had stopped buzzing. He took 1 step forward, and then another. Behind him, he heard it. A soft scraping. He turned too fast and nearly dropped the sidearm. Naira was sitting up inside the shelter, her eyes glassy, chest rising and falling fast. "Don't move," she said. "Don't make a sound." Jonas froze. "What is it?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "They're here." He crouched next to her. "Who's they?" "Not mine. Not yours." "Something worse. They. Don't breathe. They only listen. What are you talking about?" She clenched her jaw. "Void callers. We were told they were myths, but I saw them once, during training. They left an entire platoon as statues. Bone white, skin peeled, mouths open like they were still screaming." "Charming," Jonas muttered. "They don't attack right away," she said. "They circle. They wait until you speak. The sound draws them." He looked around. "Then?" "We don't speak." Naira exhaled sharply, then winced. The pain in her ribs was back. Jonas gently touched her side, checking the foam seal. "Still intact," he said quietly. "You're calm?" she said, surprised. "I'm scared," Jonas replied. "I'm just good at pretending." Naira studied him in the dark. There was something old in his eyes, like he'd seen too many people die and never figured out how to stop carrying them. "Why are you really out here?" she asked. "I told you, I'm a medic. No one signs up for Xeric 7 unless they're running from something." Jonas didn't answer. "Who did you lose?" She pressed. He paused. "My sister. 2 years ago. She was caught between 2 factions arguing over trade routes. They bombed a hospital. She was inside." Naira looked away. "And you?" he asked softly. "Who are you running from?" "My future," she said, "and my father." "A branch." Snapped. They both went still. Naira's hand reached under her blanket, pulling out the blade Jonas hadn't seen her hide. He slowly stood and aimed, his weapon at the tree line. Something moved. Not walked. Moved. It flowed like a ripple in space, like glass turning inside out, and then a shape emerged. Tall, thin, wrapped in something like bone and light. No eyes, no face. Only an opening where the mouth should be wide and hollow. Void caller. Naira breathed. The creature tilted its head. A second shape appeared. And a third. All standing in absolute silence, circling their camp. "Don't fire," Naira said. "Sound draws more." "We can't outrun them," Jonas replied. "You can't even walk." "I don't need to," she whispered, sliding something into his hand. He looked down. A small black sphere, warm and pulsing. "Valessari burst orb," she said. "Makes light. Pure light. Not noise. Throw it when I say." Jonas nodded, his breath tight. The void callers inched closer. 2 more came behind them, moving like falling shadows. Naira's voice was steady now. When it flashes, run east. They'll scatter. What about you? Don't argue. Jonas tightened his grip. Waited. The creatures came within 6 steps. Now, she said. He hurled the orb. Boom. A burst of white exploded across the jungle. Not fire, not heat, just light. Searing, blinding, clean. The void callers screamed, but not with sound. Their mouths opened wider, twisting in impossible ways, and then they vanished folded backward like they were being swallowed by their own. Shadows. Jonas grabbed naira and ran. They didn't stop until the trees thinned and the air grew warm again. He collapsed near a bubbling spring, gasping. Naira fell beside him, her head on his shoulder, shaking. You okay? He asked. I hate this planet, she said. He laughed quietly. They sat there for a long time, not speaking, breathing. Alive. But deep in the forest where the light had burned, something had stayed behind. A crack in the air. A faint, shrieking pulse in frequencies no human could hear. Something had seen Jonas, and it remembered his face. The heat came first, not from the suns above, but from the ground below. Jonas felt it in his boots, a slow, throbbing warmth that grew hotter with every step. The red moss had vanished hours ago, replaced by flat black stones streaked with veins of silver. This was the lava belt, an ancient battlefield scorched by the last valessari civil war. They had crossed into it chasing a signal, weak, flickering, but possibly real. They needed help, shelter, supplies, and Naira was getting worse. She leaned against him now, one arm looped around his shoulders. Her steps were uneven. Each breath came with a small tremble. The foam seal on her side was breaking down faster than he could patch it. Still, she didn't complain. This was a battlefield. Once, she said, her voice rough, you remember it? Jonas asked. Not this one, but others like it. We trained in ruins. Every valessari noble child does. Jonas looked at her. Sounds charming. Our history is soaked in fire. We're taught never to forget the heat. They stopped near a jagged ridge. Behind it stood the remains of a structure, metal ribs twisted into the rock, scorched symbols etched into the side. Old outpost, Naira whispered. Might still have supplies. Jonas helped her inside. The air was stale, tinged with rust and oil. Old lights flickered as they passed. The walls were lined with burnt-out consoles and broken weapons. He eased her down onto a metal bench and began checking her vitals, heart rate erratic, internal bruising worsening. Her veins showed faint signs of crystal toxin, probably absorbed from the jungle. He opened his medpack. Hold still. She watched him silently as he injected the stabilizer. You know, she said softly, most medics would have left me after the second near-death experience. I'm not most medics, he replied. Why? Jonas didn't answer at first. Then, because you're not dead yet, Naira blinked. Then she smiled barely. But it was real. A low rumble shook the ground beneath them. Jonas froze. That wasn't thunder, he said. Naira stood, wincing. No, that was something waking. Up, the floor beneath their feet lit up. Pale red lines, once dormant, now glowed. A panel slid open in the far wall. Something moved behind it. Metal shrieked. Gears ground to life. And then the wall exploded outward as a massive figure stepped through. Towering. Humanoid. Made of black. Armor and lava glass. Its chest pulsed with fire. Eyes, 4 of them, burned like dying stars. Jonas staggered back. What the hell is that? Fire brother, Naira breathed. Old valessari weapon. Banned a century ago. It's not banned anymore. The fire brother raised its arm. Flame rippled along its forearm, forming a cannon. Get down. Jonas shouted. grabbing Naira and rolling behind a pillar just as fire exploded through the air. The wall where they'd stood moments ago melted. It's locked on us, Jonas said. How do we stop it? We don't, Naira replied, her voice grim. It won't stop until everything with a heartbeat is ash. Great. Jonas fired his sidearm 3 shots. They sparked harmlessly off the fire brother's chest. Naira ducked behind a fallen beam, coughing. It has a core, she said. Energy crystal inside the spine. Hit that and it collapses. Easy, Jonas muttered. Just get behind the giant murder machine. He scanned the room. Saw a raised gantry along the far wall. Maybe if he climbed fast enough he could drop down behind it. Buy me time. He said, double quotes, Jonas. I'll be fine. I've done dumber things for worse people. Naira didn't smile. But she nodded. Jonas sprinted as the fire brother turned its head. The cannon fired. He dove, rolled, scrambled up the gantry stairs as heat singed his back. Come on, he whispered. Come on. Naira shouted something below, taunting the machine. Drawing its focus, Jonas reached the top, ran across the gantry, and jumped. He landed hard on the fire brother's back, gripping a coolant vent to steady himself. It bucked, twisted. Tried to throw him off. But Jonas held on. He reached the spine, saw the glowing crystal bright red, pulsing like a heart. Sorry, big guy, he muttered. He jammed his last explosive patch into the seam and pushed off, rolling as the patch beeped once, twice, 3 times. Boom. The fire brother shrieked. Its arms flailed, then froze. Light poured from its joints, and then it collapsed like a dying star. Flames sputtering. Jonas lay on the floor, coughing, his clothes smoking. Naira crawled over. You idiot, you're welcome. She reached out, touched his hand. You saved me again. He looked at her. That's kind of my thing now, she hesitated. Then unfastened something from around her neck, a small silver disc etched with curling glyphs. What's that? Breathstone, she said. It's given only once in a lifetime, to someone who's earned more than trust. She pressed it into his palm. Keep it. It means ... you have my breath, my loyalty. And if you die, I will carry your name forever. Jonas stared at it. Double quotes Naira ... Why are you really running? She looked away. Because I was promised to someone. A prince, cruel, power-hungry. Father thinks it's the only way to secure peace. But I won't be peace's prisoner. Jonas said nothing, but in his silence she heard what she needed. Understanding. Outside, the last sparks of the fire brother faded into the wind. But something else had awakened. Far away, in orbit, a beacon lit up a secret military channel. Valessari encryption. A voice spoke. Fire brother activation confirmed. Survivor ping detected. Dispatch retrieval unit. Target, Naira Valessari. Priority, terminate before. Contact with Central Authority. And deep inside the broken outpost, another light blinked to life hidden beneath the floor. Someone was listening. The ship that arrived looked like Salvation. Sleek, silver, wings like folded blades. The Valessari crest glowed blue on the underbelly, and its descent stirred the scorched earth beneath Jonas and Naira's feet. They had fired the emergency beacon from the ruins of the Fire Brother base hours ago. Jonas had nearly passed out twice. Naira was running on willpower alone. The idea of rescue felt ... impossible, and yet there it was descending from the sky with polished armor and promise. But Naira didn't smile. She stood still, the breathstone she had given Jonas still hanging around his neck. Her eyes narrowed. As the ship's doors opened, "Why don't you look happy?" Jonas asked softly. "Because I know that symbol," she said. "But not that ship." 4 figures stepped out, dressed in Valessari military black. Armor smooth, faces masked. One walked forward, taller than the others. cloak dragging behind him like a shadow. Naira stepped in front of Jonas before he could move. The figure removed his helmet. His skin was stone gray, his hair silver and braided with steel threads. His smile was too smooth. "Princess," he said, "your father is?" Concerned, Naira's fists clenched. "General Tovar. I didn't know traitors still wore royal colors." "My loyalty is to the throne," he said calmly. "And you are its rightful jewel. We've come to bring you home." Jonas didn't like the way the guard stared at him. Silent, rigid. "And him?" Naira asked. Tovar tilted his head. "A medic, yes. Curious how many explosions follow him." "He saved my life," she said. "So he claims." Tovar gestured. "You're injured. Let us treat you on board." Jonas moved beside her. "We don't have to go with them." "We do," she whispered, "but don't trust anyone." They boarded the ship. The interior was pristine, sterile, every surface polished, but something was wrong. Too quiet. No medics, no attendants. Only silence and those same masked soldiers. A private chamber was prepared for Naira. Jonas was given a separate room. The door locked behind him. Jonas sat on the edge of the bed. Instinct screamed in his chest. He checked his wrist scanner. No signal. He tapped the communicator again. Still nothing. He walked to the door. Pressed his hand against the panel. Nothing. Just silence. But then he noticed it, a blinking red light near the ceiling. A watcher droned. They were being observed. He paced the room, heart pounding. Something was deeply wrong. This wasn't a rescue. It was containment. He slid his boot under the edge of the bed and pried loose. A metal rod, light, but strong enough. Then, a whisper. "Jonas." He turned. Naira stood at the corner of the door, the wall behind her blinking. She'd cut her way through the panel with a microtorch. "We don't have time," she said. "This isn't my father's ship." "How do you know?" "Because they haven't asked me anything about my injuries. And because I know my father's real seal. These uniforms are forged. The guards? Too still. I fought beside real valessari. These aren't them. So who are they?" "Mercenaries," she said. "Or something worse." Jonas followed her into the crawl space. The metal corridor behind the walls hummed with a low, strange frequency. Not military. Not medical. "I hacked one of the terminals," she said as they crawled. "They're not taking us to valessari Prime. They're diverting to a facility on the black moons of Silos." Jonas's breath caught. "That's not a treatment center," he said. "That's an extraction lab. For memory, wipes, and loyalty rewrites." Jonas stopped crawling. "They're going to erase you. They're going to turn me into a puppet queen." Outside, footsteps echoed. They froze. The crawl space shuddered as something scanned the walls. Then, "Move," Naira whispered. They crawled fast, turning corners. Finally, they reached the engine room, a dark belly of the ship where heat and steam masked their presence. Naira opened a panel and pulled out a glowing cylinder. "What are you doing?" Jonas asked. "This is their power core regulator." "I remove this. They slow down just enough to be traced." "Someone's watching for you?" "I hope so," she whispered. "If not, we die in orbit." The ship jolted. Alarms began to blink. "They know," Jonas said. "Run." They dashed through the maintenance corridors, shadows rising behind them. From the control bridge, Tovar watched a monitor screen. They escaped containment. A guard said. Tovar leaned forward. "No, they've activated Trace. She wants to be followed. Alert the client. Phase 2 must begin." On the ship floor, Jonas and Naira slammed through an auxiliary airlock and launched a shuttle pod, a tiny emergency vessel meant for crew. Evacuation. It shot from the side of the false royal ship and plummeted through orbit, burning through the atmosphere of a strange, unknown moon. Jonas held the controls. Any idea where we're going? No, she said. But at least we're lives, not being brainwashed. They hit the surface hard. When the dust cleared, they were surrounded by silence, not jungle. Not heat. Snow. A frozen wasteland stretched before them, ice, ruins, a broken city beneath white cliffs. What is this place? Jonas asked. Naira stepped out of the pod, staring at a black statue half buried in the snow. This, she said, is where my mother died. The cold was different here, not just temperature, not just frost or numb fingers. This cold felt ancient, like it had waited for them. As if every snowflake carried a memory no one wanted to remember. Jonas stepped cautiously through the shallow. Snowdrift, his breath fogging the air, his boots crunching against shattered tiles hidden beneath ice. Ruins stretched out before them, once proud towers now crumbled, archways broken, statues toppled. Faint golden script still clung to a few walls, half buried in frost and silence. This was a valessari city? He asked. Not just a city. Naira said quietly. This was Lumira, the place of blood memory. Jonas turned to look at her. She stood still, eyes distant, wind tugging at the tattered edge of her cloak. Her face was unreadable, but her voice trembled in a way he hadn't heard before. This is where my mother died, she said again, and where I was supposed to begin the light trial. What's the light trial? A sacred rite, reserved only for heirs born into fire bloodlines. It's not a test of strength. It's a test of truth. Jonas raised an eyebrow. Truth about what? Yourself, she said. Your loyalty, your pain, your mind. They walked deeper into the ruins, the snow crunching louder now, air sharper. Statues of long-dead queens lined the old courtyard, each one carved with closed eyes and mouths sewn shut. Jonas stared. That's unsettling. They speak only once, Naira said, and only if you survive. They reached a dome-shaped structure near the cliff edge, half collapsed, but glowing faintly from within. Inside, the light was soft, not fire, not electricity. It pulsed like a living heart. In the center stood a dais, curved, inscribed, made of crystal and bone. Jonas stepped back as Naira approached it. Wait, he said. What are you doing? I'm finishing what I started. You're wounded. We don't even know what this will do. I know what it does, she said, cutting him off. It burns away lies. If I complete the light trial, the council will be forced to hear me. The rite grants undeniable truth. If I speak with it, no one, not Tovar, not even my father, can silence me. Jonas stared at her. And if you fail, my mind fractures. Permanently. He grabbed her arm. That's not a fair trade. She looked him in the eye. I've lived too long with chains disguised as crowns. Let me try. He let go slowly. I'll be right here. Naira stepped onto the dais. The light surged upward, wrapping around her body like mist made of fire. Her eyes snapped shut. Jonas watched, heart pounding as her body tensed. Her limbs locked, and then she collapsed, but her mind went somewhere else. She opened her eyes and found herself standing in a mirrored chamber. Walls made of her own face twisting, whispering, accusing. Her mother appeared first. Beautiful, regal, eyes cold. You betrayed your blood, the vision hissed. I wanted peace, Naira said. Peace is weakness. The image shattered. A new one formed, her father. Eyes filled with disappointment. You ran from your duty. I ran from being sold. Shattered. Then Jonas appeared. He stood in front of her. But this version was different, dripping with blood, eyes lifeless. How many will die for your rebellion? No one else, not anymore. The image burst. Now the chamber filled with sound laughter. From every wall, cruel, mocking. Princess of nothing, they sang. Throne of ashes. No, she whispered. The chamber grew hotter. Her feet sank into the floor. as if judgment was trying to pull her down. "You are broken," the voices said. "You are not queen. You are not worthy." She fell to her knees. And then one voice cut through them all. Soft, human, real. "You're not broken," it said. Just unseen. Jonas's voice. The real one. The only one that ever asked her what she wanted instead of what she could give. The fire dimmed. The mirrors cracked. Naira stood. "I see now," she said. "I am not a tool, not a pawn. I am the truth they tried to silence." She raised her hand. The chamber exploded in light. Back in the ruined dome, Jonas shielded his eyes as the whole room filled with white. Naira's body arched once, then went still. He ran to her, grabbed her shoulders. Naira, her eyes snapped open. Glowing. Not gold, not silver. But clear light. She looked at him, blinking. Her voice trembled. "I remember everything, even what they erased." Jonas stared. "What?" "My mother was assassinated." Jonas's breath caught. "My father covered it up," she continued. "He said she died in an accident to avoid war. But the truth, she was going to expose the war syndicate that funds the royal court. Tovar? He was her assassin." Jonas staggered back. "So this goes deeper than just you. It's not about me anymore," she said. "It never was." They stepped out of the dome. The wind had shifted. Above them, a small valessari scout ship hovered in the distance. Naira raised the breathstone to the sky. It glowed like a flare. A response signal flashed back. "What did you just do?" Jonas asked. "Called the one ally we have left." "Who?" "The Queen," she said. "My mother's sister. She's been waiting for the truth." Jonas grinned. "Now we've got a war to stop." "No," Naira said. "Now we've got a throne to rebuild." The sky above valessari Prime burned gold. Not with fire, not with war. But with tension. From orbit, the royal city of Lysail gleamed like a crown carved from glass spires rising through clouds, sun shields glittering, and energy sails drifting along the atmosphere like celestial banners. Ships from a dozen worlds hung in holding positions around the planet. Everyone was watching. Every faction, every house, every silent enemy waiting for Naira to fall. Inside the central palace, Jonas stood beneath the vaulted dome of the great echo chamber, the room where the valessari Council passed laws, declared war, and once long ago crowned queens. Now it was a stage of whispers and blood. Soldiers stood along every pillar, draped in crimson armor. Nobles lined the upper terraces. In stiff silence, 12 council seats formed a half-circle, each throne glowing faintly in their clan's color. But the central throne, the seat of the flame, king, remained empty. Jonas exhaled slowly. Naira had told him this was how it would be. The king wouldn't speak. He would watch. And judge. From the shadows behind the council, General Tovar stepped forward. His black robes flowed like a wound down the marble steps. His voice echoed without effort. "You all know why we are here," he said. "Princes. Naira Valessari, the only heir of the throne, stands accused of treason." A murmur spread. Jonas kept his face still. His wrists were bound with silver cuffs. 2 guards flanked him on either side. Not because he was dangerous, but because Tovar wanted him to look dangerous. She fled royal command. Tovar continued, pacing slowly. She crashed on a forbidden moon. She refused diplomatic duty. She allied with a human offworlder. And now she returns with stories. He stopped, smiled. Fairy tales of assassination and conspiracy. Stories designed to weaken our unity. And today she dares to speak before us. A hush fell. A golden door opened. And Naira walked in. She wore her full ceremonial armor, polished white with black veins of her mother's line. Her breathstone glowed on her chest. Her hair was braided in the ancient warrior style of the first queens. She walked, alone, but not unguarded. Every step was defiant. Jonas saw heads turn. Even the most hardened general shifted. She bowed once before the throne. I claim the right. Of light, she said. My voice is sealed by truth. You will hear me. To his credit, the king nodded once. Tovar scoffed. Speak then. But remember, our laws do not protect liars. Naira stepped forward. Her voice was calm, but powerful. Mother, Queen Ishlin, was not killed by accident. She was assassinated for trying to dismantle the syndicate that funds our wars, and her death was buried by this man. She pointed directly at Tovar. The chamber exploded with voices. Tovar's single quotes. S smile twitched. Proof? Naira held up a cube. The memory key she recovered from the frozen ruins of Lumira. Recorded within is her private log. It names her killer. It names the syndicate. And it names the plot to turn me into a puppet queen. The cube floated to the dais. Activated. Queen Ishlin's voice filled the chamber. If you're hearing this, then I've failed. Tovar is behind it. He believes war is the only future. But I believe in a world led by choice, not control. And if my daughter survives, know this, she is more than my heir. She is the flame of change. Silence fell. The king leaned forward. For the first time in decades, he spoke. Tovar, is this true? Tovar laughed. Not a real laugh, but the kind that echoed off broken walls. Truth is relative, my king. What matters is what keeps the people united. Peace built on emotion is weak. War gives us purpose. He turned, and that human Jonas Ray is a saboteur. He poisoned the princess, manipulated her, infiltrated our lines. The king looked to Jonas. What do you say to this? Jonas's voice was low but steady. I never came to fight. I never asked to lead. All I did was save her life over and over. And never once did she ask me to. He looked directly at the council. I didn't make her stronger. She already was. The guards raised their weapons. Tovar gave the nod. Execution, he said coldly. Now. But a voice interrupted. You dare? It was the queen's sister, Lady Therix, matriarch of the Outer Moons, long exiled, rarely seen. She stepped into the chamber, flanked by her own warriors. I watched the truth from orbit, she said. And if you spill innocent blood, know this, my fleet will burn down every syndicate port until nothing remains. One by one, the council members stood. 6 lowered their eyes. 3 bowed to Naira. 2 remained silent. But it was enough. The king raised his hand. Unshackle the human. The guards hesitated, then obeyed. Naira walked to Jonas. And took his hand. King stood, then let it be declared, he said. Naira Valessari is my heir. Jonas Ray, citizen of Earth, is under her protection. And General Tovar, but he didn't finish, because Tovar had already moved. A blade hidden in his robe whipped free as he charged. Jonas stepped forward to shield Naira, but Naira was faster. Her energy blade roared to life and struck Tovar's arm, spinning him mid-air. He fell hard and didn't rise. Naira stood over him, chest heaving. You silenced my mother, but you will never silence me. The chamber remained silent. Then slowly one voice clapped. Then another. And another, until the entire room echoed with applause. Outside, on every world watching, screens lit up with the image of Naira standing beside Jonas, her blade lit, his hand in hers, the face of rebellion. The birth of something new. The stars above Valessari Prime pulsed brighter than Jonas had ever seen them. But it wasn't the sky that stole his breath. It was her. Princess Naira stood at the edge of the royal balcony, overlooking thousands below. Torchlight flickered through the crowd like waves of fire. Ships hovered in solemn formation overhead. Her armor was gone, now replaced with a long woven robe of silver and midnight blue. Her breathstone hung at the center of her chest, glowing like a living star. Beside her, Jonas stood in ceremonial white. No armor, no weapons. Just the mark of Earth's healing core stitched across his chest, and every screen in the galaxy was watching. They weren't about to witness a coronation. They were about to witness a declaration. Speak now, the High Priest of Flame whispered, and it will be made sacred. Naira didn't hesitate. She stepped forward. The balcony lights dimmed. The voice of the people quieted into a silence thick with tension. Then her voice cut through it like light through night. I was born into a throne, she said, but not into freedom. For too long, our crown has been forged in fear, alliances built on control, peace held hostage by tradition. But the galaxy has changed, and I have changed. She turned slightly. Her eyes found Jonas. This human saved my life. Not by strength, not by command, but by compassion, by truth. And when the shadows of power tried to erase me, he stood beside me, though it nearly cost him everything. She faced the crowd again, and so today I do not claim a crown. I do not sit on a throne of blood. Instead, I offer something older than power, something we forgot. She lifted her hands. Offer bond. Jonas stepped forward beside her. On behalf of Earth, he said clearly, I accept. The high priest raised his staff. And so it is written. A low chime rang out. Firelight circled their feet, forming the circle of unity, a sacred symbol not used since the age of the first queens. The crowd erupted not in cheers but in reverent silence. A deep bow. Thousands bowed at once, across rooftops, through the streets, even from orbiting ships. It was not obedience. It was trust. Later, in the quiet of the palace gardens, Jonas sat beside Naira on a bench beneath a glowing tree. For the first time in weeks, there was peace. Birds hummed softly. Wind curled through the crystal leaves. Jonas exhaled. You did it. Naira looked over at him, a soft smile tugging her lips. We did? He looked down at his hands. So what now? She leaned back. We rebuild. We expose every syndicate that funded the wars. We rework the council. We open new embassies. And us? He asked. Her gaze deepened. We already chose each other, she said. Not as rulers, not as soldiers, as equals. Jonas felt his throat tighten. Do you ever regret it? Trusting me? Naira shook her head. You were the first one who ever asked who I was before telling me what I should be. She placed something in his hand, a small metal disc etched with a symbol he hadn't seen before. What is it? He asked. A new house, she said. Our house. The house of truth. He held it tightly. But just as peace settled over them, a voice crackled in his ear. A secret channel, encrypted, but familiar. Jonas. This is Relay Station 91. We've intercepted a transmission. Unmarked freighter crossing the outer rim. Signature pattern matches the assassin network. Naira tensed. They're moving again. Jonas stood. They won't stop, will they? Naira's face was calm, but hard. No, she said. But neither will we. He reached for her hand. Then, let's make sure the galaxy knows we're not done. From a dark moon on the edge of known space, a shadowed figure watched the broadcast replay in silence. The flames of the bond ceremony flickered across his face. He wore no crest. No rank. Just scars. So the girl thinks she's safe, he said. Let her shine. The brighter the light, the deeper the shadow. Behind him, hundreds of mercenaries trained in silence, human, valessari, and other species long forgotten by royal history. The figure turned off the screen. We are the forgotten, he growled. And we remember everything. Meanwhile, far above the royal palace, Two stars crossed paths for a moment. Not fate, not prophecy. Just two beings who should never have met, choosing each other anyway. And for one quiet night on Valessari Prime, that was enough.